I love these day in the life of a SOC analyst just to see what is it like. Is it the same experience for me as it is with them? Let's check it out. Let's find out.
If you're like most people, then you've probably wondered what it's like to be working from home in 2023. Is it as easy as it sounds? How does it impact productivity? How is it different now after the peak?
Ramen sounds so good right now. I could eat that up. It's so nice. One of the great perks about working from home too is you can cook food right then and there. You don't have to prep it beforehand. You don't have to smell the stinky kitchen when you go in. My coworkers love, I don't get it. Every single day it's like fish and broccoli. Everyone is just stinking up those microwaves. But here you can do it in the sweet comfort of your home. It's so nice.
Pandemic, what are the pros and cons? So in this video, I'm going to show you guys what it's really like to work from home as a cybersecurity professional. I start my morning by going through emails to see if anything urgent came up. Then I check my calendar to see what meetings I have for the day because
I love when my days look like this. It's so nice because it's true. I don't have that many meetings either. I mean, some days when we're doing like proof of concepts or other people need us to help, we don't troubleshoot a ton of things, right? We're not system administrators or network engineers that when stuff breaks, they need you all the time. It's really nice. There's usually not a ton of meetings.
very busy man. Right after that, I open up my dashboard to see how many emails has been reported to be phishing while I was offline.
Yep. You're gonna have a queue, and it's gonna be for phishing emails. That's just gonna be one of many queues. So figure out how to do those phishing emails quickly.
The platform we use for monitoring this is a product called Phantom by Splunk. It's a very useful solution where we can create automations to ingest and process emails, so 90% of the heavy lifting is already done.
That's true. So in addition to having your skill on looking at emails to see if they're malicious or not, is really configuring the tool behind it, your either email gateway, whatever you want to call it, email filtering, where you want it to do 90%, 99% of the work so that it's just doing all that for you. You don't want malicious emails to get to your user's inbox in the first place. So you're going to spend a good deal of time configuring this tool to make sure that doesn't happen. Because at the end of the day, makes your life so much easier that you don't have to do any of that work. Fewer malicious emails in users' inboxes means fewer emails being reported to you, less work for you to do, fewer compromises. It's awesome all the way around.
It usually takes a while to go through because the entire company's reports are funneled into a single destination, and I have to investigate almost every single one of them. Just to give you guys an example of the process, here's how I process this email. This is the reports window, and what I do is look at the outputs that has been generated by the automations and see if there was any initial detections. Then I look into the email.
So this is a particular platform called Phantom by Splunk. I've never used this particular one. That's all right. It doesn't matter whatever platform you use. Hopefully the platform you have makes it easier, quicker, faster. I've had some that are great, and I've had some where you just have to dig through the headers. Especially, oftentimes you're not allowed to open up the email itself because it could be like if your company is global, you could be under regulation like GDPR, which whoever. I don't live in EMEA, I don't live in Europe, I don't know what it stands for, but it's a privacy act where you can't invade people's privacy. You can't just look at their emails, even if they report them as phishing or malicious. So oftentimes you're going to need tools like this to get the items that you need to do the research.
ML file, which is the actual email that the person received. So some common indicators of a phishing email are the urgency in the subject, the sender's email and domain, and also the general context of the email. So looking at this email, we can confirm it's malicious, so I just block the sender and recipient using another automated process.
He doesn't block the recipient, he blocks the sender.
On a daily basis, we usually get at least 10 to 20 reports, but the majority of them are usually false positives, but that's fine because
dude, what in the world is wrong? Okay, your end user, I wish they would know the difference between spam and phishing. There is a huge difference. Spam, send it to junk. Make an inbox rule and send it to junk. You don't have to see it anymore, right? If you don't want to see, Nike spam emails or whatever, like whoever you've given your email address to, so they're just spamming you for whatever, send it to junk. Don't send it to us to confirm if it's malicious or not. It's just annoying you. So much of our work is spent on this BS, and this is why we have security, awareness, training to try and educate our users. Again, this is trying to make our lives easier. If we can educate users, then we don't have to do a lot of the BS work that otherwise comes. Right? But training users is another beast all on its own.
To be safe than sorry. I also have to sit through a couple of meetings and stand-ups, but usually,
yes. I can neither confirm nor deny that this is how we spend our time in meetings.
Schedule in the morning because people are just like that. So stand-ups are basically a meeting where you meet with your team to let them know what you're working for the day and if you have anything that's blocking you. So in total, my meetings are probably an hour a day, so that's not too bad. I've seen my manager's calendar where it takes up to 3/4 of his day, so
it's my boss's schedule. Even my boss, like, they just do meetings all day, and it's so draining. I don't get how they do it. Trying to map out, like, me to schedule time with them, it's like playing Jenga. It's awful.
Look fun. My next routine would be to go through any detections that we have on endpoints. So endpoints can be laptops, phones, servers, basically anything electronic that an employee uses. And we use CrowdStrike Falcon as a solution because...
So it's interesting that he would do phishing emails first. Usually you would look at all of your queues. You're going to have a few queues, and you're going to want to find what's critical first. And generally with phishing emails, there's no like critical, high, medium, or low. There's no rating to it. They're just all in a queue. If you look at them, there's no way of telling which ones immediately are going to be actual true positive phishing. Whereas something like CrowdStrike Falcon, they're going to tell you, okay, these ones are critical. They need your attention immediately. And generally speaking, you want to do the critical stuff early on into the day and not, potentially give a threat actor hours or days or, however long to be in your environment.
On the cloud and is easily installed in all of the endpoints remotely. So an example of a detection is this laptop here. I have to go through all of the information provided, like the application or the activity that triggered the alert. Then I have to confirm if this detection is actually true positive by researching.
Exactly. So endpoint detection and response, there's going to be so much stuff out there that you're going to be like, what the hell is this thing? I have no clue. You're going to go to Google. You're going to do exactly what he's doing. You don't need to know all of this beforehand. Sure, there are some that you should know about beforehand, like Mimikatz or Metasploit or Conti or Revol or, like the Eternal Blue, the big players in the game. But stuff like this, you're just going to be Google searching, what the hell is this thing? Is it malicious? Is it not? Where did it come from? Does my user need it? Do they not?
On this application, scheduling a call with the user so they can provide an explanation of what they were doing. The good thing about CrowdStrike is our contract allows them to provide 24/7 support. This means that I don't have to be on call for severe alerts because I know that the detections are being investigated by the CrowdStrike support team.
So what he's talking about is an outsourced SOC, outsourced endpoint protection MDR solution where CrowdStrike will work these alerts for him or in conjunction with him, and maybe he just reviews those alerts to confirm or works the escalations that come from CrowdStrike to confirm or deny any kind of activity. And this part's really nice. A lot of companies cannot afford a 24/7, 365 SOC. You would need probably at absolute minimum 6 full-time analysts, like at absolute minimum to get that kind of coverage. That's so expensive. It is far cheaper to outsource that to a company like CrowdStrike or IBM or Huntress. There's a ton of these companies where you can outsource just endpoint protection because you really want that 24/7. Whereas like a phishing email, well, you don't really need someone on that necessarily immediately. Those can generally wait. But if you have ransomware on your computer at 2 a.m., you want someone working on it at 2 a.m.
Caveat is they only investigate medium to high severity detections, so I still have to investigate everything else. Next routine would be
That is the contract that they have. All of this stuff is going to be negotiable. So depending on what like tier you pay for, it all depends. Sometimes your MDR will do 100% of the work. Sometimes maybe they would only pay for critical stuff. It all really depends.
through the vulnerabilities that we have on the cloud environment. The majority of our work is on AWS, so the two key services that I use to monitor the vulnerabilities are Guard Duty and Trusted Advisor. Going to Guard Duty, most of the detections here are network related. A couple of examples here are
And you can really begin to see, this video is super cool in that, I mean, he's showing you the tools that he uses. So there's that. You typically don't want to give away the tools that you have for your company, but I mean, when you have top of the line tools like CrowdStrike might be like the #1 MDR platform. So good luck getting by their SOC team, right? You can now begin to see just how many skills you need in this field. Right now we're on the third thing. We had phishing emails, we had endpoint protection, and now we're on to a variety of things between network activity and cloud activity. There's just so many good, juicy skills to learn.
on brute force attempts from malicious IP addresses, port probing, suspicious credential usage on our AWS accounts. An example here is we've had a particular IP address hitting one of our ports to search for a vulnerability. What I do here is just to search the IP address on this website and see how many times it has been reported by other people. Once I've confirmed that this IP address is a malicious actor, then we just block it off with our firewall. As for trusted,
so blocking an IP, you can shun an IP. Mostly I found the network team will do this. Oftentimes the security team will not make those configuration changes on the firewall itself. So you'll be working with other IT teams to secure your environment. But absolutely true. In terms of shunning IPs, this is one of the steps you can take to secure your environment. But it's also really low on the pyramid of pain. It's not very difficult for bad actors to switch up an IP address. Like it's one of the easiest things for them to do.
Advisor, the name basically explains it. The service advises you on vulnerabilities within an AWS account that needs to be fixed up. An example would be an IAM user that requires an access key rotation because it has exceeded a certain number of days.
And here we are on yet another type of niche or alert. I mean, there are some people that this is all they do. They do identity access management. And that's all about making sure the right people have the right access to the right resources. And it's a huge field, right? We don't want every single user to have access to every single resource. And managing that is the new playing field, especially post-pandemic, where we are a distributed workforce and a lot of people are using your own device, BYOD, bring your own device. When devices are not joined or purchased or owned by the company, it gets really tough to tell who is who, right? Is this user who they say they are, right? Is the person accessing these resources, downloading and deleting these resources, is it who they say they are? So IAM access key rotation is a huge piece of that, making sure those people have the correct permissions and privileges.
By this time, about 3/4 of my day is already done. This leaves me some time to work on some development work. An example is this dashboard I'm working on Splunk. Basically, I want to create a dashboard to have an overall view of our firewall. This query is called SPL, which stands for Search Processing Language. It's quite similar to SQL, so if you're familiar with that, then you have no trouble with SQL.
There are so many of these resources. Like programming languages, SQL, SPL. I personally use KQL. They're pretty easy to pick up. They're pretty easy to learn. They're fairly similar. But yet again, here we have just another skill that you'll pick up along the way. This one I wouldn't consider entry level. You would do this more as an intermediate tier. And oftentimes, dashboards are more useful, are super useful at least for management type positions, because you want a high level, immediate overview of what's going on. It is nice as a SOC analyst to see how much work do I have for the day, how much critical work do I have for right now. But my managers have like super in-depth reports that they'll want built out for them, because they want metrics to present to C-suite, right? The CEO, the CFO, chief financial officer who's paying our bills wants to make sure that he's spending that money wisely. So these dashboards that you can create, you can like print out and put in presentations, so that way you can prove that you're worth the money.
This is usually the fun part of my day because I get to be creative and do some development work.
To each his own. To each his own. Some people are going to like this programming development type stuff, but you might love something else. You might love endpoint protection, right? We each got our own thing. I used to absolutely love email security. It was like my bread and butter. I just super enjoyed it, and that changes over time. So some people like building dashboards, and some people don't. That's one of the absolute greatest things about the job, though, is that there's so much variety. You're not just doing the same thing over and over. You're going to get to do some things you absolutely love and some stuff that's just like, okay.
Work instead of grinding through tickets and alerts. So in terms of productivity, I think working from home actually promotes it, as I'm not distracted by little things like my team members trying to have a small chat with me, or that one loud guy.
Look, most of us are introverted and just don't want to talk to people, right? That's fine. It's completely fine. Whether or not it's a waste of time, hit and miss. There's something to be said about having those like water cooler chats with your teammates, your colleagues, getting to know them, bonding, so they can be there, so you can... If you're going to work together with someone on an incident, you want to know a little bit about them. So there is something to be said about in person, but also I know plenty of people who are not productive at home. They're just like at home playing Switch. So it's hit and miss. Find out what works for you. I like it. I personally like the hybrid schedule where I get to go in a couple of days, I get to work from home a couple of days. Keeps me on my toes.
In the office that talks like he's giving a speech to everyone.
And I love how he says he's hyper productive, and then is like showing off how he's making coffee throughout the day. When you work from home, you do other things. You get distracted doing these other cool things. He could be on a break. It's fine, right? But you're still using company time to do stuff. Whether it's a conversation with a colleague or making coffee, we all do things.
Someone else.
I declare bankruptcy!
Absolute classic. The Office, Michael Scott, let's go. Yeah, okay, if you're spending time making coffee like this at home, that's a bit much. That's a bit much for a break.
There are days where I'm actually working longer than my usual hours, so having an office that's a couple of steps away is actually better for an incident response job. True. In incident response, so when an incident arises, so there are alerts that generate. Let me back up. There are events, security events, which are just logs, right? Any kind of log. User logged in. That's just an event that occurred. An alert is, but this guy who logged in from a country that he normally doesn't log in from, and from a device he's never logged in with before. So that generates an alert, and when you investigate and you're like, oh yeah, that's not John logging in, but someone logging in with John's account. Now we're at the incident level where we are in incident response mode, where we need to figure out how did they get in, what have they done. We need to contain the situation and go through all of that goodness. And it is really nice to work to do that if you're already at home, rather than if you have to drive into an office to get to your computer to be able to do that, or if you're commuting back and forth, right? It's just the quick, easy access of being at home makes that really nice. Part of working from home is avoiding the horrible traffic to the office and back home. And another thing is also saving.
One of the things I actually don't mind, I have an hour commute each way, and I actually really don't mind it because I get to listen to audiobooks, and it's some of the most peaceful time for me, and I've grown super fond of just getting to spend that time with different resources that I really enjoy. So it's also, I don't sit in traffic. I live in Texas, and we're just 50 miles away from everything, and you get to drive, 70, 80 miles an hour. So you're trucking it, but it still takes an hour to get anywhere because everything's just so dispersed, so spread apart. But I get it. If you hate traffic, if you hate commuting, this is a career that does allow you to work from home.
Cost on food and travel, so that's a luxury that I really appreciate. Ever since COVID has eased, my company is trying to get us back in the office like 3 days a week. They sent out a department-wide.
Yeah, so that's what my company did, is they went full-time remote back to this hybrid schedule, and you might see that as well. There are fewer full-time remote positions now. They still absolutely exist. There's still a lot of them, but fewer now that a lot of the bigger companies are trying to do this hybrid deal.
Survey, and the majority of the people voted to work remote or come into the office like once a week. Personally, I come into the office like once a fortnight to increase the headcount. Most of my team members are working remote, so we organize like a specific day for everyone to come in and catch up. I think a lot of companies are trying to encourage employees to go back into the office, especially in 2023. But I think it really depends on your occupation. Like for my job, I think it's beneficial to work remote. It allows me to stay dialed into my work without anyone disrupting my train of thoughts. And whenever I have to complete something that's urgent, I just do the work at home without worrying about stuff like, oh, it's getting late, I should probably start getting home. So
That's gonna be hit and miss, because even if you're at home and you're getting late, if you're married, if you have kids, you have other obligations in life. It sounds like maybe this fella isn't at that stage of his life yet, but there's still other time commitments, other obligations to be aware of. But in general, what he's saying is true. Working at home just gives you more time to devote more time to work, and oftentimes cybersecurity can command more than 8 hours a day of your time. That's just how it is. There's so much to do, there's so much to secure, so many alerts to work on, that it just takes a long time.
this video gave you guys some insight into what I do as a cybersecurity analyst and the impacts of working from home. Thanks for watching.
Absolutely phenomenal video. Super enjoyed it. Gotta check him out. Tech with Jono. I'll put a link in the description. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one.